Hello and welcome back to our study of Peninei Halacha, the teachings of Eliezer Malamed Shlita. Well, we hope everyone had a great Shabbos, good weekend, a good Chodesh. We find ourselves now in the days immediately preceding Chag HaShavuos, Haba Aleinu L'Tova, Shloshes Yemei Hagbala, Yom HaMiyuchas, lots of exciting things happening. We continue our learning, and we ask you to please continue davening for Chaylei Tzva Gana Yisrael, for Shlem L'Chol Petzua Yisrael, safety of our brothers and sisters in Israel, Nishmat Seren Daniel Shimon, Ben Harav Durum V'Shel Shem Kum Damo. Next chapter, Tefillah Amida Shel Arbas. Yaakov Avinu tikkun as Tefillas Arbas. So as we've learned previously, that Ma'ariv was established based on Yaakov Avinu, and therefore Chazal instituted in the Anshe Knesses Agdola, the men of the Great Assembly, that we should say Shemoneh Esreh at night. And this was established to correspond with the bringing of the limbs, etc., of all the offerings. Whatever was unable to be brought during the daytime, they would bring in the nighttime. It's based on the Gemara in Brachos and Daf Chavav Amud Beis. However, at the outset, in the main part of the Takana, Ma'ariv is only what's called a Rishus. What does that mean? Kolomar, mitzvah lehitzpalel arvis v'lochova. It is a mitzvah to daven Ma'ariv, but it is not an absolute obligation. And someone who is interested or busy doing a different mitzvah, a person went to sleep very early and at nighttime comes and he's already sleeping, or for some other reason it's difficult for him to daven Ma'ariv, that he would not have to daven Ma'ariv. So what's the difference between Shachros and Mincha versus Ma'ariv? Because as we have said previously, the Shachros and Mincha services were established to correspond to the Karban Tamid, which was brought both in the morning and in the afternoon. Hainu Keneged Haza'as Damam, which corresponds to the sprinkling of their blood. And without that process of the carbon with the blood, you wouldn't be yotze, you wouldn't fulfill the obligation of the carbon. So too, you have to daven shachris and mincha. Again, that same correspondence. But as we just mentioned, Ma'ariv was established because of bringing the leftover limbs, etc., whatever they couldn't bring from the carbon. And even though there is a mitzvah to bring them on that mizbeach, but they wouldn't withhold your ability to fulfill the mitzvah of the carbon. In other words, even if you didn't bring the avarim and pedarim on the carbon on the mizbeach, the carbon would still be good. And therefore, Ma'ariv is established as what's called a rishus in the Gemara. But don't get your hopes up thinking I don't have to daven Ma'ariv, because because throughout the generations it's been established that everyone davens Ma'ariv. Already in the medieval times, in the time of the Rishonim, already Ma'ariv is established as an obligation. But we do not say the repetition of Shemoneh Esreh, even so. Since at the outset it was a rishus, not an obligation. We don't have the establishment of the repetition of the Shemoneh Esreh, which was done for those that did not know how to daven, so we don't have that in Ma'ariv. A very long note here, note number 1, based on the Gemara in Brachos, opinion Rabbi Gamliel, Rabbi Yeshua, etc., and the Rishonim. Very fascinating stuff here about Tefillas Ma'ariv. Finally, Nasha Peturas Mitfilas Arvas. Women are exempt from davening Ma'ariv. And even according to those who hold that women are obligated with all prayers that Chazal instituted, the intention here is that they were obligated in Shachris and Mincha because those were obligatory prayers. But when it comes to Ma'ariv, they were exempt. And when the men took upon themselves to have Ma'ariv as an obligation, which we just said, as since already the time of the Rishonim, but that was never accepted by women. So, practically speaking, women are not obligated to daven Ma'ariv. And that brings us to a conclusion of this Seif about davening Shemoneh Esreh and Ma'ariv, and we hope everybody continues davening for Chaylei Tzva Gana Yisrael, for Shlem L'Chol Petzua Yisrael, save your brothers and sisters in Israel, Nishmat Seren Daniel Shimon Harav Durum V'Shel Shem Kum Damo. Thank you so much for joining us for this truncated week of learning because Shavuos is upon us. Hope you have a great day. We'll see you here next time.